Welcome, deep divers. Let's just acknowledge it right off the bat. The immense pressures so many women face today. We're talking about a relentless juggle of work, family, those wild hormonal fluctuations,
Yeah.
and let's be honest, that never-ending mental to-do list,
It's a lot.
it often feels like you're caught in a kind of mental and hormonal firestorm, doesn't it?
And it's sleep.
That just feels like an impossible dream sometimes.
It really does, leading to, suffering in silence or, like our sources mentioned, maybe even posting on social media at 3 a.m., just wide awake.
Right, with no real solutions in sight.
And that old idea of just powering through
Yeah.
or saying, I'll sleep when I'm dead, it's just not sustainable. It's certainly not healthy.
Absolutely not. And that's exactly why we're here today. Our mission on the deep dive is to really cut through that noise.
Yeah.
We're diving into a stack of sources, mainly this fantastic comprehensive guide about overcoming insomnia, specifically for women.
A great resource.
Our goal is to unpack effective, non-drug treatments that offer genuine solutions, not just, quick fixes. Think of this as your shortcut to understanding these unique challenges.
And maybe finding some surprising facts along the way.
Exactly.
And it's so important for you to know that while, yes, life sometimes just gets in the way of sleep, there are incredibly effective strategies out there. This deep dive, we hope, will guide you in understanding what you really can change and maybe what you can't about your sleep.
Right, empowering you to make better choices for rest.
Precisely.
So let's start by really digging into this unique landscape of women's sleep. Because, as the research clearly shows, insomnia is definitely not gender blind.
That's such a critical point. The numbers are, well, they're striking. Over half of American women consistently struggle with getting quality sleep each week.
Over half.
Yeah. And for a big chunk of them, about 43% in one large poll from 2007, that daytime grogginess actively gets in the way of daily responsibility.
Like what kind of things?
Things like childcare, driving, just basic functioning.
Wow. That's a huge impact on daily life. And it's not just a feeling, right? The risk is actually higher.
That's right. Women have almost a 3-to-2 higher risk of developing insomnia compared to men.
3-to-2. That's significant.
It is, and we see this trend from adolescence all the way through menopause, and that's even after accounting for things like anxiety or depression.
So it's not just those other conditions causing it.
Not entirely. It seems women are uniquely susceptible to hormonal shifts and lifestyle changes throughout their lives, much more so than men in this specific way. It impacts their sleep, their energy. It's a constant adjustment.
Let's talk about those life stages then, and the hormonal impact, because that seems central, like the menstrual cycle and perimenopause.
Oh, hormones play a massive role.
Right.
During perimenopause, that's typically late 40s, lasts maybe 4 or 5 years, though it varies.
Right.
About 50% of women report sleep difficulties. Half.
Wow. Compared to what before?
Well, it's a big jump from about 31% in their late 30s or early 40s.
So what's causing that jump?
It's a mix. Hot flashes, sweating, those really frustrating early morning awakenings where you just pop awake, a racing mind that won't shut off, and even spikes in other sleep disorders like obstructive sleep apnea.
Okay, and then comes pregnancy.
Yeah.
That often feels like, well, a total sleep disruptor across the board. What does that roller coaster look like?
It really is a roller coaster. In the first trimester, you've got heightened progesterone causing extreme daytime sleepiness. You just want to nap constantly.
But does that mean better night's sleep?
Not usually, no. Night sleep is often broken, shallower, thanks to nausea, vomiting, needing to pee all the time, back pain.
Fun times.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, women often sleep more total hours in a 24-hour period then because their body is working like crazy to build the placenta.
Okay, what about the second trimester? Does it get better?
Often, yes, it's a bit of a reprieve. Nausea usually gets better. But then other physical discomforts can start creeping in lower back pain, heartburn, leg cramps.
Always something.
Pretty much.
And by the third trimester, it sounds like things really ramp up again.
They absolutely do. The third trimester is generally the most stressful for sleep. You've got sinus congestion, persistent back pain, constipation, shortness of breath, more heartburn, and just constant pressure on your bladder from the baby.
Plus the mental side.
Oh, yeah. Stress, excitement, anxiety are all high. Often leads to really vivid dreams, too. There's even an evolutionary theory that this broken sleep actually helps prepare mothers for the newborn's chaotic schedule.
Huh. Never thought of it that way.
And physically, the risk of snoring jumps way up from maybe 10% in the first trimester to 20% in the third.
20%.
Yeah, and there's a higher risk of sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, periodic limb movement disorder,
Yeah.
things that can be linked to other issues like gestational diabetes or preeclampsia.
No wonder new moms talk about momsomnia. The sleep challenges clearly don't just vanish after the baby arrives.
Oh, not at all. That postpartum period is often described as just a tornado of emotions, highs and lows, and utter exhaustion.
Yeah.
So many factors play in the type of delivery, how many babies, breastfeeding issues, and newborns, they have no circadian rhythm yet. They need feeding constantly.
Around the clock.
Exactly. So new moms are under huge stress, juggling everything, and they're kind of genetically programmed to keep one ear open for the baby. Deep, restorative sleep. Really difficult, even if you get the chance.
So that advice, sleep when the baby sleeps.
Is not always easy to follow. For many, it's pretty much impossible.
Okay, so after all those intense phases, what about postmenopause? Does sleep finally get back to normal then?
Well, after 12 months without a period, many symptoms do tend to soften. Hormonal levels get steadier, progesterone stops, estrogen is lower, but not fluctuating wildly.
So some relief.
Some relief, yes. But, and this is really important, the rates of sleep apnea actually drastically increase in postmenopause.
Really? Increase?
Yes. The rates between men and women start to even out as they age. It's a critical point that often gets missed.
Wow. Okay, so beyond the biological stuff, our sources also talk about societal and behavioral factors. It's not just hormones, is it?
Not at all. There's this tendency for women to just power through sleep loss, almost like it's a badge of honor.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Instead of prioritizing sleep, so many women will choose TV or finishing chores or family time or work or scrolling the internet.
Anything but sleep.
Exactly. They just keep pushing, feeling sluggish and tired, but not really seeking proper treatment. It's just unsustainable.
And the multitasking.
Yeah.
That infamous badge of honor.
Yeah.
That definitely takes a toll, right?
It absolutely does. Research shows that mothers, even if they have similar workloads to fathers, feel more burdened and stressed.
Why is that?
Well, one study found they spend, on average, 10 more hours per week multitasking housework and childcare.
2 hours more.
Yes. And this constant multitasking is linked to more stress, lower quality of life, more negative emotions, and yeah, reduced productivity and focus. It's a real drain.
I can definitely feel that sometimes, being pulled in so many directions. And speaking of mental burdens, what about worry? So many women seem to carry that way. How does that mess with sleep?
It's a powerful connection. Women are twice as likely to suffer from anxiety disorders.
Twice as likely.
Yes. And they tend to focus on future worries much more than men do. These worries often become a major fuel for sleep problems. It creates this vicious cycle. You can't sleep, so you worry about not sleeping, which makes it even harder to sleep.
Ugh, yeah. The worst. So, given all these unique challenges, let's get into the basics of how sleep actually works. Our sources talk about the two-process model. What does that mean?
Okay, so this model basically says there are two key forces controlling your sleep. The first is sleep drive. Think of it like sleep hunger.
Sleep hunger, okay.
The longer you're awake, the more this drive builds up. Your body gets hungrier for sleep.
So that explains why pulling an all-nighter makes you so tired.
Exactly. And it also explains why naps can sometimes backfire, especially naps after, say, 2 p.m. or naps longer than 20-30 minutes. They reduce that sleep drive, making it harder to fall asleep or stay asleep later.
Like spoiling your dinner appetite.
Precisely. It's the same idea.
Okay, so that's sleep drive. What's the second part?
The second part is your circadian rhythm, which is basically your body's internal clock.
The body clock, got it.
It's a roughly 24-hour cycle, actually closer to 24.1 hours if you don't have light cues, that regulates all sorts of body functions. Digestion, temperature, and of course, your sleep and wake time.
And light is key here.
Light and dark are absolutely crucial. They're your biological timekeepers. They tell your internal clock what time it is.
Okay, so where does melatonin fit into this? I hear about that a lot.
Right. Melatonin is often called the hormone of darkness.
Hormone of darkness, okay.
Because your body releases it when it gets dark, typically about 2 hours before your natural bedtime, as your core body temperature starts to subtly drop.
And light affects it.
Big time. Light, especially the blue light from our phones, tablets, TVs, it significantly suppresses melatonin production. It basically tells your brain, hey, it's daytime, wake up.
Which is why scrolling before bed is such a bad idea.
Exactly. It's actively working against your body's natural sleep signals.
Okay, so we have the sleep hunger building up and the internal clock with its light signals and melatonin. How do these two things work together to make us sleepy at night?
It's a nice balance, usually. In the morning, your sleep drive is low because you just slept, right?
Right.
And your circadian rhythm is sending alerting signals. Melatonin is off. As the day goes on, your sleep drive gets stronger and stronger.
Sleep hunger builds.
Yes. But the alerting signal from your circadian rhythm helps keep you awake and functioning, though most people get that natural dip in the mid-afternoon.
The 3 p.m. slump.
That's the one. Then, at night, you have a really strong sleep drive combined with the release of melatonin as it gets dark. That combination makes you feel sleepy and helps you fall asleep.
And stay asleep.
Well, after a few hours, your sleep drive is mostly satisfied, but your circadian rhythm helps maintain sleep for the rest of the night.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so let's talk realistic sleep expectations. Many of us have this idea that we should sleep like a log straight through the night. Is that actually normal?
For most adults, especially as we age, no, not really. It's often an unrealistic expectation. Healthy sleepers typically go through about 5 to 7 sleep cycles each night.
Sleep cycles.
Yeah, and after each cycle, there's usually a brief awakening, often so brief you don't even remember it in the morning. But for women dealing with insomnia or just getting older, expecting to sleep completely uninterrupted all night long, it's generally not going to happen. The goal should be quality sleep, feeling rested, not necessarily unbroken hours.
So even though our sources mention women might get deeper sleep sometimes.
Yes, women might have an edge there in terms of deep sleep quantity. But hormonal changes, especially around menopause, can cause more frequent awakenings, maybe needing to use the bathroom or chronic pain waking you up.
So the sleep gets more broken up.
Exactly, leading to shorter total sleep time and more disruption overall. So you might get deeper sleep when you are asleep, but less of it. It's just unrealistic for, say, a woman in her 50s to expect to sleep exactly like she did in her 20s. We need to adjust those expectations.
That's really helpful framing. Now, there's also this surprising link our sources highlighted between sleep and body composition. I found this fascinating. What's the deal there?
Yeah, this is really interesting stuff. Think about it this way. You could be hitting the gym, watching your diet like crazy, but if you're chronically sleep deprived, you might actually be sabotaging your efforts.
How so?
A study back in 2010 found something pretty counterintuitive. They took people on the same diet, losing the same amount of weight overall, but the sleep-deprived group getting only 5.5 hours a night, they lost more muscle mass. The well-rested group getting 8.5 hours, they lost more fat.
Wow. So sleep affects what kind of weight you lose.
Exactly. It's not just about calories in, calories out. Your sleep quality seems to dictate whether you're burning fat or muscle when you're trying to lose weight.
That's a huge insight for anyone focused on fitness or weight management.
Absolutely. And another study, this one from 2013 with college-aged women, found that consistency was key. A consistent bedtime, and even more importantly, a consistent wake time.
Wake time again.
Yep. That was linked to lower body fat. If their sleep or wake times varied by more than 90 minutes day to day, that was linked to higher body fat percentages.
So routine really matters for body composition too.
It seems so. Sleep quality overall was also a big factor. Better sleepers had less body fat. It just shows how fundamental sleep is for, well, everything else.
So what happens on those nights when you just can't get enough sleep? Is all hope lost for recovery?
Well, the good news is your body's pretty smart about prioritizing. Your sleep drive can help you recover the really crucial deep sleep you lost.
Okay, so you catch up on the deep stuff.
Yes. But it doesn't mean you recover all the hours you lost. You catch up on the quality, the most restorative part, but not necessarily the quantity. So while you can bounce back from an occasional bad night, it's definitely not a license to consistently skimp on sleep.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, this brings us to a really important model for understanding why insomnia happens and sticks around. The 3P model. What are these Ps?
All right, the 3 Ps. They stand for predisposing, precipitating, and perpetuating factors. Understanding these really helps decode how insomnia starts and why it can be so hard to shake.
Okay, so let's break them down. Predisposing factors. What are those?
Predisposing factors are things that make someone more likely to develop insomnia in the first place. They set the stage, basically.
Like what sort of things?
They can be biological, maybe a history of other medical conditions like chronic pain or fibromyalgia, or hormonal changes like perimenopause, or simply being female, as we've discussed.
So things you can't really change.
Often, yes. You might hear people say things like, oh, I've always been a light sleeper, or my mind just never shuts off at night. Those can be predisposing factors.
Are there psychological ones too?
Absolutely. Personality traits, being very type A, for instance, high stress levels, or existing conditions like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, past trauma. And then there are social factors.
Like your environment.
Yeah, maybe having kids who are poor sleepers, doing shift work, having a noisy bed partner, financial worries, job insecurity. All these things can make you more vulnerable to developing insomnia down the line. They don't guarantee it, but they raise the risk.
Okay, so that's the groundwork, the predisposing factors. What's the next peak? Precipitating.
Right. Precipitating factors are the specific events that actually trigger an episode of insomnia. This could be short-term or the start of chronic insomnia.
So this is the spark.
Exactly. It's the thing that pushes you over the edge. Again, these are often stressors, biological, psychological, or social. A major life event, getting sick, a death in the family, a period of intense stress at work, that kind of thing.
Got it. And the last Pete, perpetuating factors. These sound like the tricky ones.
They really are. Perpetuating factors are the things people do often thinking they're helping that actually keep the insomnia going. They maintain it.
How so?
These are often based on what feels like common sense. You're tired, go to bed really early, sleep in super late on weekends, take long naps, have extra coffee.
Yeah, that sounds logical if you're exhausted.
Right. But these seemingly logical responses often make insomnia worse in the long run. They mess with your sleep drive and circadian rhythm. This is why CBT-I, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, can be challenging. Initially, it asks you to go against these powerful, ingrained instincts. You have to unlearn those common sense habits.
Wow. Okay. I can see how that would be tough, but necessary. Now, our sources also stress that insomnia often co-occurs with other conditions. What does that mean exactly? It's not just one causing the other.
That's the modern view, yes. Sleep specialists now see these conditions as co-occurring, existing side by side, rather than thinking, say, depression causes the insomnia or vice versa.
More like a chicken and egg situation.
Exactly. It's often hard to tell which came first. So if you have insomnia and something like depression or anxiety, the best approach is usually to address the insomnia as its own separate issue within the overall treatment plan. Treating the insomnia can often help the other condition and vice versa, but both need focused attention.
Okay. Let's touch on some of the common co-occurring conditions mentioned. Sleep apnea, we talked about the risk increasing for women, especially post-menopause. Can you remind us what that is?
Sure. Obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, is when breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep because the airway muscles relax too much.
And that wakes you up.
Your brain senses the drop in oxygen and briefly wakes you up just enough to resume breathing. People often don't remember these awakenings, but they fragment sleep terribly. Symptoms include really bad daytime sleepiness, irritability, frequent nighttime urination, heartburn, morning headaches, restless sleep, and, yes, insomnia because of those awakenings.
And you mentioned women's symptoms can be different.
Yes, very important. Women might report more vague things like just general insomnia, fatigue, lack of energy, morning headaches, or even symptoms that look like depression or anxiety. Not necessarily the loud snoring or gasping often associated with men.
So it can get missed or misdiagnosed.
Easily. It might be mistaken for cardiac issues, fibromyalgia, anxiety, thyroid problems, or just dismissed as part of perimenopause. But treating the underlying apnea can sometimes resolve those other symptoms.
What about other things that disrupt sleep, like restless legs?
Right, restless leg syndrome, or RLS. That's that really uncomfortable urge to move your legs when you're resting, especially in the evening or at night. People describe it as an internal restlessness or a creepy crawly feeling.
What causes that?
It's often linked to iron deficiency, specifically low ferritin levels, so getting your iron checked is key. It can also be associated with diabetes, neuropathy, arthritis, Parkinson's, kidney disease, and some medications, like certain antidepressants or even antihistamines, can trigger it.
And there's something similar, PLMD.
Periodic limb movement disorder, PLMD. This involves repetitive movements of the limbs, usually legs, during sleep. Most people with RLS also have PLMD, but you can have PLMD without RLS.
And that disrupts sleep too.
Definitely. If the movements are frequent enough, they cause microarousals, leading to daytime fatigue, sleepiness, irritability, and just broken sleep, even if your primary insomnia seems treated. Medication is often the first step for PLMD and can be quite effective.
Okay. What about narcolepsy? That sounds more severe.
Narcolepsy is less common, a chronic neurological disorder where the brain has trouble controlling sleep-wake cycles. The hallmark symptom is excessive daytime sleepiness, sometimes with sudden muscle weakness called cataplexy. It affects about 1 in 2,000 people and often involves autoimmune or genetic factors.
And mood disorders, we know women have higher rates of anxiety and depression. How tied are these to sleep?
Very tightly linked. Insomnia and mood disorders frequently go hand in hand. While depression can cause sleep issues like waking up super early, we now know treating the insomnia itself can actually improve mood and even lower the risk of depression coming back.
So treating the sleep helps the mood.
Yes. And untreated insomnia can definitely worsen depression symptoms and, tragically, even increase suicide risk. It's a dangerous cycle.
Finally, chronic pain. That seems like an obvious sleep disruptor.
It really is. A temporary, acute pain might not mess with sleep long term, but chronic pain is different. It's a complex condition that actually changes how your brain processes signals, and it significantly impacts sleep quality. Pain disrupts sleep, and then poor sleep can make pain feel worse. Another vicious cycle.
Okay, so we've painted a pretty clear, if somewhat daunting picture of why sleep can be so challenging for women and how it connects to so many other health issues. Now let's shift gears, let's talk solutions. What actually works? Our sources point very strongly to cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBT-I, as a top choice. Why is it considered the gold standard?
That's right. CBT-I is really the first-line recommended treatment according to major sleep organizations like the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. It's been studied extensively, and it's highly effective.
As effective as sleeping pills?
Yes, generally just as effective as medication in the short term, but here's the crucial difference. The benefits of CBT-I tend to last long after treatment ends, sometimes for years.
Look at you learn skills.
Exactly. You learn skills to manage your sleep yourself. Most sleep specialists prefer patients try CBT-I first because it addresses the underlying causes of insomnia, not just the symptoms, and it goes way beyond just basic sleep hygiene.
Okay, so what does CBT-I actually involve? You mentioned it's more than just hygiene.
It's a multi-component therapy. It usually starts with the behavioral techniques, which have really strong evidence behind them. And one of the very first, most fundamental steps is sleep tracking using a sleep diary.
A sleep diary, like writing down when you sleep.
Pretty much, but it's a bit more detailed. You track things like what time you got into bed, roughly how long it took you to fall asleep, how many times you woke up during the night, how long you were awake, what time you got out of bed for the day.
Okay.
From that, you calculate key numbers. Your total time in bed, TAD, your actual total sleep time, TST, and critically, your sleep efficiency, SE%.
Sleep efficiency, what's that?
That's the percentage of time you were actually asleep while you were in bed. So it's TST divided by TIB times 100. It gives you an objective picture of how consolidated your sleep is.
So it shows the difference between lying in bed awake versus actually sleeping.
Precisely. Often people feel like they barely slept, but the diary might show they got more sleep than they thought, just broken up, or it confirms they spent hours awake in bed. It provides a baseline and helps track progress. It's a real eye-opener, like in the example of Ruth from our source material. She thought she was getting much less sleep than she actually was, just very fragmented.
That makes sense. You need the data first. Now, what about those sleep hygiene basics? Are they still part of CBT-I?
Yes, they're foundational. They set the stage. We touched on some, but let's recap the key ones. First, avoid alcohol within about 3 hours of bedtime. It might make you drowsy initially, but it fragments sleep later in the night.
And caffeine?
Limit caffeine, especially in the afternoon and evening. It doesn't just make it hard to fall asleep, it leads to shallower, more disrupted sleep all night long. Try a short walk outside for an energy boost instead.
What about the bedroom environment?
Super important. Keep your bedroom cool. Not freezing, but cool. Your body temperature needs to drop slightly to initiate and maintain sleep. A warm room fights against that.
And noise, especially if you have kids or live in a city.
Noise is tough. If you're a caregiver, sometimes it involves practicing acceptance, or better yet, seeking help asking a partner to take a shift, using earplugs or white noise if possible.
Exercise timing, you mentioned that before.
Yeah, exercise regularly, but try to finish your workout at least 4 to 6 hours before bed. This allows your body to heat up and then cool down nicely before sleep. Exercising too close to bed can be overly stimulating and raise your core temperature.
Food timing, too.
Right. Avoid large, heavy, or spicy meals within 3 hours of bed. Digestion is an active process. If you are hungry, a small, balanced snack with carbs and protein, like a banana and some peanut butter, can actually be helpful about 30-60 minutes before bed.
And the big one, the wake-up time.
Yes, probably the most crucial hygiene rule. Maintain a consistent wake time 7 days a week, even on weekends.
Ouch, no sleeping in.
Ideally, no. Or keep it minimal. Sleeping in significantly reduces your sleep drive for the next night, making it harder to fall asleep. No snoozing the alarm either. That fragmented sleep isn't restorative.
And the screens.
Yeah.
Blue light.
Gotta block that blue light. Melatonin hates it. Limit phones, tablets, computers, even bright TVs for 1 to 2 hours before bed. Read a real book. Listen to calm music. Do gentle stretching. If you do get out of bed during the night, use a very dim, warm-colored light, not bright overheads. Total darkness can sometimes make you focus more on being awake.
Okay, that's a solid hygiene list. What's the next behavioral piece? Stimulus control. Sounds intense.
It sounds more dramatic than it is. Stimulus control is basically retraining your brain. The goal is to strengthen the association between your bed and only two things: sleep and sex. Nothing else.
So no reading in bed, no watching TV, no worrying in bed.
Exactly. If you're in bed and you're not falling asleep within, say, 15-20 minutes, or if you wake up and can't get back to sleep, the rule is get out of bed.
Get out, even if it's cold and dark.
Yes. Go to another room, do something quiet and relaxing, read in dim light, listen to a podcast until you feel sleepy again, then go back to bed. Repeat as necessary. The point is to break the connection between the bed and being awake and frustrated.
That sounds hard.
It takes discipline, especially at first, but your brain learns through association. If you consistently only use the bed for sleep, your brain gets the signal. Bed equals sleep. It's like Pavlovian conditioning for your bedroom.
Okay, conditioning the brain. Now, the one that sounds really counterintuitive, sleep restriction therapy. You actually restrict time in bed. How does that work?
It definitely goes against every instinct when you're sleep deprived, but it's one of the most powerful techniques in CBT-I.
Yeah.
The idea is to match your time in bed more closely to the amount of time you're actually sleeping.
To increase that sleep efficiency number.
Exactly. By limiting your time in bed, you build up a stronger sleep drive, that sleep hunger we talked about. This leads to falling asleep faster and having more consolidated, deeper sleep when you are in bed.
So how do you figure out how much time to allow?
You use your sleep diary. Calculate your average total sleep time, TST, over a week or two. Let's say it's 6 hours. You then set your non-negotiable wake-up time, say 6:30 a.m. Then you count back 6 hours from 6:30 a.m. That means your initial bedtime is 12:30 a.m. You are only allowed in bed between 12:30 a.m. and 6:30 a.m.
Wow. Only 6 hours in bed, even if I used to spend 8 or 9 tossing and turning.
Precisely. It feels tough initially. You might feel more tired during the day for the first week or so. You'll likely struggle to stay awake until that later bedtime. But the goal is to make your sleep more efficient.
And then you gradually increase the time.
Yes. As your sleep efficiency improves, typically aiming for 85% or higher based on your sleep diary, you gradually move your bedtime earlier, usually in 15-minute increments, maybe once a week. The focus isn't hitting some magic number of hours. It's achieving efficient, consolidated sleep first. It works much better and faster when combined with stimulus control.
That sounds challenging, but I can see the logic. Okay, so those are the powerful behavioral tools. What about the C in CBT-I, the cognitive approaches? How do thoughts fit in?
Cognitive approaches tackle the unhelpful thoughts and beliefs about sleep that often fuel insomnia. This comes from Dr. Aaron Beck's cognitive model. A situation triggers an automatic thought, which leads to an emotion, which then drives a behavior.
Like seeing the clock at 3 a.m. is the situation.
Right. The automatic thought might be, ugh, here we go again, another night ruined, I'll be useless tomorrow. The emotion is anxiety, frustration. The behavior might be tossing and turning, trying to force sleep.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Our thoughts, filtered through our perspectives or colored glasses, generate these emotions and behaviors. Negative thoughts about sleep, especially catastrophic ones, I won't be able to function at all, really ramp up worry and interfere with the natural process of falling asleep. You can't force it.
So how do you change those thoughts?
The main technique is called thought challenging or cognitive restructuring. You learn to identify these negative automatic thoughts when they pop up.
Like catching them in the act.
Exactly. Then you examine them, question them, look for the evidence. You ask yourself things like, is this thought 100% true? Is there another way to look at this situation? What's the evidence for this thought? What's the evidence against it? What's the most likely outcome, realistically? Even if I don't sleep perfectly, what can I still do tomorrow?
So you're sort of cross-examining your own negative thoughts.
You are. The goal isn't necessarily positive thinking, but realistic thinking. It's about recognizing that many of our anxious thoughts about sleep are exaggerated or just plain untrue. It helps quiet down that mental chatter and reduce the worry. It's a skill. It takes practice.
And you mentioned it's important not to challenge thoughts that are actually true.
Right. If the thought is, I have a huge deadline tomorrow and I'm unprepared, challenging the truth of that isn't helpful. Instead, you'd shift to problem solving. Okay, what can I do now to prepare? Or how can I manage the situation even if I'm tired? It's about getting to the root and responding effectively, not just arguing with yourself.
Okay. And one more tool our sources mentioned for quieting the mind, mindfulness. How is that different from thought challenging?
Mindfulness is a great alternative or addition, especially if your brain feels like it's constantly playing whack-a-mole with worries. It comes from ancient Buddhist traditions, and it's about cultivating awareness of the present moment, your thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, without judgment.
So less analyzing thoughts, more just noticing them.
Exactly. With thought challenging, you're actively debating the thought. With mindfulness, you notice the thought, there's that worry about tomorrow, acknowledge it without getting swept away by it, and gently redirect your attention back to something neutral in the present, like your breath.
Is it something you do in bed to fall asleep?
That's a common misconception. Mindfulness isn't meant to be a sedative you use to make yourself sleep when you're struggling in bed. That can create pressure. The real benefit comes from practicing it regularly during the day or as part of your wind-down routine before bed.
To build the skill.
Yes, it's like building a mental muscle. Consistent practice helps you become less reactive to your thoughts and worries in general, which carries over into the night. You learn to observe the mental noise without engaging with it so much.
Okay, so CBT-I sounds really comprehensive. Beyond that, what about more holistic approaches? Lifestyle things.
Definitely. Lifestyle optimization is huge. Our sources talk about the 3+1, focusing on eating, moving, and sleeping well, plus attending to your spiritual or emotional needs.
And nutrition specifically.
The advice often boils down to Michael Pollan's famous line, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Focus on whole foods, plenty of vegetables, fruit, good quality protein, plant or animal. Healthy fats like olive oil and avocados, whole grains, maybe some omega-3 rich fish. Fermented foods for gut health. It's less about a specific diet, more about nourishing your body overall, which naturally supports better sleep.
What about supplements? People often reach for those first. Our sources mentioned a few, or they generally recommended.
It's a really common first step, but the evidence is often mixed, and they're not usually a long-term fix for chronic insomnia. Take melatonin, for instance.
The sleep hormone supplement.
Right. It's naturally made by your body. The research shows it's most clearly beneficial for things like jet lag or helping night owls shift their sleep schedule earlier. For general insomnia, the results are less consistent.
What a dosage.
For jet lag or circadian issues, often very low doses, like 0.3 to 1 milligram, taken hours before bed work best. For insomnia, people often take 3-5 milligrams about an hour before bed. But a big issue is that supplements aren't regulated by the FDA like drugs are. Meaning the actual amount of melatonin in a pill can vary wildly from what the label says. Plus, if you take it regularly, your brain might start relying on the supplement and produce less of its own melatonin over time. Side effects can include nausea, dizziness, headache, daytime drowsiness. It's generally not a first-line treatment for chronic insomnia.
Okay, so melatonin is tricky. What else did the sources mention? Magnesium.
Yes, magnesium is involved in hundreds of processes in the body, including relaxing the nervous system. Many women especially are deficient. Good food sources are leafy greens, nuts, seeds. Supplementing with around 400 milligrams at night can be helpful for some. Magnesium glycinate is often a well-absorbed form. It's generally safe, even during pregnancy and lactation. You can also absorb it through Epsom salt baths or magnesium oil.
Interesting. What about herbal options, like lemon balm?
Lemon balm is a nice one. It's considered an adaptogen, meaning it helps the body handle stress. It acts on GABA receptors in the brain. Those are the calm-down signals. Some people say it feels like half a glass of wine, just promoting relaxation. Good for general anxiety or even IBS, too. You can take it anytime.
And L-theanine. I think that's in tea.
It is, especially green tea, but you'd need a lot of tea. It's an amino acid that promotes relaxation without causing drowsiness. Really helpful if you feel tired but wired. It also works on GABA. Dosing is usually around 100 milligrams twice a day or 200 milligrams about 30 minutes before bed.
And good old chamomile tea.
Don't underestimate chamomile. It's great for gently easing the mind and gut. Making a cup of chamomile tea steeped properly for about 10 minutes can be a wonderful part of a relaxing bedtime routine. It signals to your body that it's time to wind down.
Any others worth noting?
Briefly, same can be helpful for people with co-occurring depression or chronic pain as it supports neurotransmitters, but use caution if you have bipolar disorder or anxiety. And evening primrose oil might help some people with nerve pain or chronic itching that disrupts sleep due to its anti-inflammatory properties.
Okay. And what about actual prescription sleep medications? Briefly, what did the sources say?
They mention a few classes. Over-the-counter antihistamines like Benadryl or Unisom, the older ones that make you drowsy, are often used, but they're not great long-term. They
Yeah.
can cause dizziness, a hangover feeling, they suppress REM sleep, you build tolerance quickly, and there are concerns about memory issues with long-term use.
What about prescription options?
There are benzodiazepines, drugs like Klonopin, Valium, Ativan, Xanax. These primarily treat anxiety but are sedating. They work by enhancing GABA. Then there are the Z drugs like Ambien, Lunesta, Sonata, designed specifically for sleep. They also work on GABA, but slightly differently. And drugs like gabapentin, technically an anti-seizure med, are often used off-label for insomnia, especially if pain is involved, because sleepiness is a side effect. Generally, these are considered for short-term use or when CBT-I hasn't been sufficient.
So with all these potential strategies, CBT-I, lifestyle, supplements, meds, when should someone definitely seek out a specialist? How do you know it's time?
Good question. If you're experiencing significant, persistent daytime sleepiness, not just feeling tired, but really struggling to stay awake during the day, that's a red flag. Or if you've genuinely tried non-drug approaches like the CBT-I techniques consistently for about a month and you're just not seeing improvement, it's time to consult a doctor.
A regular doctor or a sleep specialist?
Ideally, a board-certified sleep medicine physician. They can properly evaluate you for other underlying sleep disorders that might be mimicking or worsening insomnia, things like sleep apnea, RLS, PLMD, narcolepsy. Sometimes a sleep study is needed to really figure out what's going on, especially if other medical issues might be playing a role. Don't just keep suffering if the basic strategies aren't cutting it.
That's really important advice. And finally, our sources brought up something crucial, especially for women: self-advocacy and asking for support.
Yes, absolutely critical. Women often shoulder a disproportionate amount of household and caregiving responsibilities, and the pressure to do it all is immense.
And detrimental to sleep.
Hugely. So empower yourself to ask for help. Talk to your employer about potential flexibility if needed. Talk to your partner, your kids. Divide chores and responsibilities more equitably at home. Even young children can help with age-appropriate tasks. It's not about being selfish. It's about recognizing that your health and well-being, including your sleep, are essential for everyone.
That mindset shift, that it's okay to ask for help, that you don't have to do everything, is so important.
It really is. And related to that, pay attention to your overall mood. If stress, worry, irritability, sadness, or feeling overwhelmed are constant companions, that might indicate an underlying anxiety or depression that needs attention. Seeking help from a therapist or counselor can bring enormous relief. And improving your mental health will almost certainly help your sleep too.
And practicing self-kindness.
Yes. Be kind to yourself. Accept that life is messy and demanding sometimes. It's okay if the house isn't perfect or the inbox isn't empty every single night. Prioritize your fundamental needs, including sleep, over things that can wait. That act of prioritizing yourself is crucial self-care.
That's such a powerful message to end on. And that, deep divers, really wraps up our journey today into the complex and unique world of women's sleep.
We've seen how challenges are tied to hormones, different life stages, societal pressures. It's a lot.
It really is.
Yeah.
But we've also highlighted the incredible power of evidence-based strategies, especially CBT-I, combined with those practical lifestyle shifts to truly make a difference.
You really do have a comprehensive toolkit now. Hopefully you understand more about not just what might be happening with your sleep, but why. And you feel more equipped to make informed choices.
Absolutely. So with all this knowledge now, our final thought for you is this: what small, consistent change will you commit to making first? Knowing the potentially huge impact it could have, not just on your sleep, but on your overall well-being.
Think about it. Pick one thing.
And take that first step toward a more rested, healthier you.